If you feel like a feather in the wind being blown around by the wind of the world, I want to try and settle and ground you today and offer you some encouragement. What you need to remember is our minds and our lives are very fragile. They're like the feather. The feather is light and easily influenced. It can be pushed this way and that. And we are much like this. So you need to be very careful about the influences you allow into your life. And this has never been so true because we've got so many strong influences. We've got social media, we've got news, we've got our friends, the books we read, movies, the music. It's constantly bombarding us and it has an effect, whether we realise it or not. Ralph Waldo Emerson said this years ago when there was no social media, but the same sentiment was true. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you someone else is the greatest accomplishment. And it's said in the Bible in a slightly different way. This is Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing and perfect will. So everyone has an agenda. Everyone's trying to influence you. You wake up in the morning and you're settled. You are like that feather settled on the ground. You're grounded. You can interrupt that very quickly. As soon as you open social media, you go on TikTok and you see a news clip of Donald Trump, and that's a gust of wind and it blows you in this direction. You might not realise it, and it might be subconscious. You might think, oh, it doesn't bother me, I don't pay much attention to the news anyway. But the wind has still come. You might go out for a walk, and although you've got a jacket on, you feel the wind. Whether it affects you or not, you can still go for your walk. You still feel the wind. So it's better to avoid these things. So this is happening all day. You see the clip of Donald Trump, you're blown in this way, and it's affecting your mind slightly and your clarity. Then you get in the car and somebody cuts you up on the motorway, and then you're blown in that direction, the direction of anger. So you're constantly getting affected by outside influences. So another example of somebody that experienced this is Henry David Thoreau. He built a little log cabin in the woods and wrote a book about it. So this is clearly something that humans have dealt with for a long time, and it's only got more pressing and more important because we've got a lot more distractions and more influences now. And I find it interesting, it's the period of Lent at the moment, and that means abstinence, prayer and almsgiving. And I've been meditating on this, and it makes perfect sense. You've got Henry David Thoreau, you've got Ralph Waldo Emerson, and then you've got the millions of people that practice Lent. And this is why, because humans need it. You need to remove yourself from society, from the outside influence. So this is my invitation for you. If you feel like that feather getting blown around, ignore everyone. Ignore everyone, including your own mind to some degree. Accept God. So you can use the Lent framework, prayer, fasting and almsgiving, and I'll kind of show you through that lens, but this isn't a religious video. This is just how I'm viewing the world at the moment. So this works from a secular perspective. This is completely secular. So fasting is abstaining from things. So when you wake up in the morning, you don't open TikTok and you don't see that clip of Donald Trump. You're settled. You didn't lose your grounding. Then the sugary foods, which can give you like a sugar high, or smoking or drinking alcohol, you're abstaining from those things. They throw you off, so you stay grounded. Prayer and meditation kind of go hand in hand. You're not constantly thinking about, what did that person at work say? You know, all of your problems, what happened last year, what's my future going to be like? Prayer. You're in the present moment, so that's not throwing you off, that keeps you grounded. And almsgiving is giving to charity or giving to people in need, or I would just argue giving anything, producing something. So I've spoke about consuming versus producing, and you don't get blown around by the wind of the world as much when you're producing something. So if I watch a YouTube video, I'm getting influenced, I'm getting swayed in this direction or that. No. If I make a YouTube video, it's completely different. So use that framework. Ignore everyone. Turn off social media. Stop watching my videos. I'm influencing you in a certain direction. Now, you can choose your sphere of influence, and if it's positive, then you can continue to allow it to influence you. And there's a time for that. There's a time to read books and learn new information, but there is also a time to not consume anything, to ignore everyone and just kind of go silent for a set period. And the season of Lent seems like a good time to do that. It's 40 days, and I've just done this. I haven't uploaded a video in a couple of days because I've been practicing what I preach, and it's been very beneficial for me. It has a grounding effect, and it will do the same for you. So it looks like no social media, a dopamine detox, and be careful who you spend your time with. So they say you're the average of the 5 closest people to you, and that's absolutely true. They're constantly influencing you, and their traits and their mannerisms will rub off on you. That's just normal. That's just spending time with people. But we have the phone and a lot of distractions that are there all the time. And there's some very interesting characters. You know, you've got like Mr. Beast videos that are influencing you subconsciously. But it's only through that silence and through that settling down that you can actually get with reality and hear the voice of God. So you are like the feather. You don't actually animate your life. It's hard to understand this. We tend to think we're doing it. We're not. We're at the whim of wind. We are the feather. The feather on its own, unless it's attached to a bird, but the feather on its own doesn't move itself around. It gets moved by the wind. So we tend to think we're the animating force. We think we're God. We're not. We're the feather. We're sat on the floor. Now the wind of Donald Trump or the news or something can lift us up, and it does. We spend our whole day doing that. So that's the wind of the world. Or you can be influenced by the wind of God, and you have to settle yourself so you can actually be influenced by that. And that's what I've experienced when I try and do it. When I try and influence myself and be in the world, I get thrown all over the place. When I let go of that, and I let go of that influence, the influence of God, it takes me in the direction I'm meant to go. So let go. It's a time of letting go and just being silent. So that's my invitation. Embrace the silence, embrace the boredom, let go of the ways of the world, let go of social media, and you'll know what it is for you. You'll know the thing that's influencing you. It could be that relationship or that friendship. Every time you see that person, they make you feel a certain way, and it's not always good. You know, I've had that. I've had friendships where I meet up with someone and come away just feeling worse. And I think it's not their fault. They don't mean to do that, but you just think, oh, that didn't really influence me in a positive way. So cut these things out. Focus on prayer, meditation, fasting, almsgiving. And this is a good time to journal. When I was learning about losing weight, I read something very interesting. The author kind of proposed that we don't actually have free will. And I agree with this statement. I'll have to find the quote, but we don't have free will. We only have the decision to choose our environment. And his point was, if you're trying to lose weight, it's because there is food in your environment that isn't conducive to your weight loss goals. So, and this is totally true. If you go into somebody's house and there isn't any bad food, the foods that aren't on your diet, you're not going to eat them. But even if you choose with free will, I'm not eating bad food, but you go into somebody's house and they offer you the food, that gets very difficult, almost impossible. And if you are overweight, that's probably why, because your free will didn't work. And that's the truth. You don't really have free will. You only have free will to the degree that you can choose your environment. So if you've got bad food, the best thing you can do if you're trying to lose weight is get rid of all foods that aren't on your diet out of your house and out of your cupboards, and fill it with foods that are. And it becomes very easy. And this has been my experience. But when you live with other people that aren't on the same diet as you, your food environment is now full of foods that aren't part of your plan. And you'll know if you've tried to do a diet that free will doesn't work. So this is like this. You might think, I'm not influenced by social media. I'm not influenced by my friends. I'm stronger than that. You're not. You're like the feather in the wind. You will get blown around. And all you can choose is your environment. All you can choose is whether to open up the phone or not, whether to go and talk to that friend or not. So I'd invite you to remove yourself from those things just for one day. Just do it for one day. And it's very difficult. Like as soon as I set this as the intention, I'm not gonna use my phone, I want to make a YouTube video. I want to do something, and that's me producing, and that's not even that bad. So I invite you to settle yourself and stop getting blown around by the wind of the world. Hope that helps. Speak to you soon.